Hello and welcome back to Bengali Girl. This is your podcast host Nikita, and I am so grateful that you're here. And I'm hoping that you're enjoying this season of the episodes. They are more on a schedule, which is two episodes and then I take a break and then I'm back again. There will be an exciting collab coming soon. I promise. It's just, you know how life gets. It's everyone's busy with everything that life is throwing at them, and trying to get, people on board is not that difficult because I have like the best friends around me that if I ask them, they're like ready, as they say, ekpai hara. They're ready 24/7 to like support me, but I just believe that it's these schedules that we need to like fix, and hopefully we fix them soon because I have so much exciting content with like the collabs that I'm coming with. And this is something that I was talking to my friend, so we were talking about collabing and all that, but every time I used the word collab, like I don't know how to pronounce it, like I'm losing the confidence in saying that word. So even now that I'm saying it, I'm just like, oh my god, am I pronouncing it right? So if I'm not, please excuse me. I'm trying my best, okay? And like thinking about trying my best, I started thinking about my childhood. Over this whole week, I've started reminiscing like just aspects of my childhood. And a lot of it was trying to fit into like one of the preset society boxes. And I'm not going to go on to like, a speech on like how you shouldn't fit in a box. Everyone, as they call it these days, the canon event, everyone needs to go through their own journey of like unboxing themselves or like not trying to fit into a box. But when I was a kid and growing up in Fujairah, which is a small state, well, now it's way developed, but back then it was it was a state that wasn't as developed as Dubai was in the 2000s, like early 2000s, or it wasn't as developed as even Sharjah in the early 2000s. We only had like 3 English-speaking schools in that state, and it's not that big. I don't think Fujairah is that big. So, anyways, back to the story. And growing up there, and we used to religiously follow this, my sister and I used to religiously follow this magazine called the Young Times, and I believe it used to come with the Gulf News or maybe the Khalij Times. I'm not really sure. It's the newspaper publications, and they would come out I think every Tuesday, and then they changed to Wednesday or Thursday. But this was like our magazine coming from like Dubai, because it was essentially based on like teenage or youth in Dubai, and we used to be, oh my god, what's going on? But the thing is, and also we had like Tumblr was kind of dying when I was getting into the internet. So we had Orkut and we had Facebook was very early on, but like Orkut was like the shit at that time. And of course we had MSN and all that. But I feel like because of all this, some days it was cool to be a nerd. Some days it was cool to be a tomboy, and some days it was cool to be a girly girl, and some days it was like cool to be like this emo person. And me being a child, being exposed to so many different stereotypes, I was like, I want them all. It's sometimes I joke about my childhood in a way that I was basically trained for Pokemon Go or like being in Pokemon, because all I did or all I wanted to do was collect these different personalities and like just be that. So I knew that I was really good in school. I was really good in my grade, and I was very good in like memorizing things. I was good in that aspect. So I interchanged being like this cool nerd. Yep, I'm using the word nerd. But I was interchanging myself in being like this cool nerd and being like tomboyish or like being this cool girl. Because the thing is, I believe my grade, I was like, I think I was in grade 8 when I was in 2009. Like I finished grade 8 in 2010 June, whatever. But like that batch of mine, we were very much like interchanging as well. Like I remember some of my friends were like emo for like a month, and then they would be a nerd for the next month. So like we were very much experimenting with what kind of stereotype we wanted to be, because every month there would be like this movie that comes out, right? So when Twilight came out, I wanted to be a nerd. Who wouldn't? Like, of course, I know everything about like those onion layers. I didn't, but like, you know everything about this, education wise, and have be a quiet and shy and reserved person and be mysterious. And everyone at school had that phase where we all were like, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Like you enter this class and everyone's being mysterious. But that was the case. I feel like all of my girlfriends, all of us, we were just adapting very fast to like this changing landscape of technology and how much, trendy stuff we were being fed at that time. We would wear like baggy jeans a week, and then the next week the trend or fashion changed to like colored skinny jeans, and I even wore yellow skinny jeans. I wore yellow skinny jeans with like this black top with green art on that black top. So fashion was definitely fashion was definitely questionable, but it was the trend at that time, okay? I thought I was eating it up. And maybe if I go back in time, I would still be. But I feel like my lack of confidence and this overfeeding, or the starting of this overfeeding of trends and stereotypes and stuff, was just so overwhelming that no one really stuck to a stereotype at that time in my school. And that just makes me laugh, because I think about like these incidents back in school that happened, and let me tell you one of the craziest stories in my entire life. I don't think this is something that maybe I need to go to like a therapist. You know how you have like these therapist sessions or like therapy sessions where they kind of like unblock a certain memory that might have been like hidden by your brain or something like that. I forgot the term. They have a proper term for this kind of therapy session, but I feel like I need to go for one of those, because what I'm about to tell you, I do not have any recollection of doing this, but a friend of mine at school at that time spread this like wildfire, that I did that. Okay. So I think, let me remember. I was in grade 6 or 7, okay? That was the time when I was becoming like this cool girl, but also I had really good grades. And I had my emo haircut, of course. That was cut like the bangs, if no one knows what the emo haircut was, like the front bangs. And this friend, she was my best friend at the time, okay? So unfortunately, we lost touch with each other as I moved out of the town or the state to Dubai. But she was my best friend at that time. And one day, this other friend on MSN messages me, and she's like, "How could you just change your marks?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? Change my marks for what?" And she's like, "You changed your marks." This friend, I'm just gonna call her Carla, okay? Carla is the best friend in this context, okay? The best friend who I lost in touch with and who spread this like wildfire. Oh my God. But Carla, okay? So, this friend, I will just name her Jerry. Okay, so Jerry messages me on MSN, and she's like, "How could you change your marks?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And I went through that whole thing that I just heard, right? And she's like, "Carla has been going around," or Carla told me, no one says going around at that time. She said, "Carla told me that you, during break, went to the cupboards, the teacher's cupboards, took your test paper out and changed the marks, and you put it back in. And Carla witnessed the entire thing, and she can't believe that you did that. And I was like, what? What? Like, you think I went to the teacher's cupboard and I changed my marks? And Jerry was like, yes, that's what Carla said. And why would Carla lie? She's your best friend. And she knows that if this is false, like, what would happen? Like, you guys would not talk and stuff. Like, so I believe Carla. And I'm like, what? And I, of course, like, message Carla on MSN, and I'm just like, hey, what's going on? What are you telling Jerry? And I don't know who else you're telling, but what is going on? And then Carla's like, yeah, I saw you do that just 2 days ago. What are you saying? And I'm just like, Carla, I might be like this cool girl aesthetic, or like this nerdy girl aesthetic. I didn't say the aesthetic word, but I was like, I think you know who I am, and you know that I wouldn't do that. And Carla's like, I saw you, and if you don't want to believe it, I don't know. And she said it so many times, and of course I still remain friends with her. I didn't have boundaries set, okay? But over the years, I think ever since then, after that we've been friends for like 3 years more or 4 years more before I moved or we lost contact. But every year she would say this, or like every time she would bring this up, and I, for the love of my life, for the love of God, can't remember doing this, because one thing that happened to me as a kid, I'm scared of teachers, or of authority in a way, and I wouldn't do that ever. And Carla knew that, because what happened, and I'm about to tell you, happened to me in front of the girls in my class at that time. So she said this so many times that I went and I changed my marks. I don't know how. Using, during the break and stuff, that I started believing it. And I was like, maybe I did, and maybe I can't remember this. And I just feel like I need to go to a therapy session to just unlock this memory and see if who's telling the truth. Because I still, now I know that I knew myself back then, I wouldn't do it. But Carla kept insisting. And I think this has happened so many times in my life, not now, but before my growth, that people would just tell me stuff and I would believe it. Even though I know I didn't do it, they would say you did it, and I was like, I might have, just because this seed was sown into me that there might be aspects in my life that I do that I don't remember. But coming to the reason why I'm scared of authority, holy moly, 2 incidents actually. First was I had lost this textbook, and I was in grade 2 or 3, very young, and I lost this textbook, or I couldn't find it. I misplaced it, but back then I thought I lost it, right? And I told my mom, and she was furious, because she's like, how can you lose textbooks? And books were, of course, it's expensive, so she's like, how can you lose this book and everything, and what are you gonna do and all that, and I'm like, I don't know. And these textbooks you would need to fill out your classwork. We would do activities on that textbook itself, because the textbook had these stuff that we would do, and I lost it. So that meant I think I went 2 or 3 classes without a textbook. And my mom was furious, because she was the kind of mom who wanted us to do really well in school and really pushed us to do it. So she's like, you're missing out on so much. We don't know what you're doing in the class and stuff. So she made my sister go and tell the teacher. And I just said that maybe the textbook is with the teacher, because I remember she saw it in her, when she pulled her drawer, there were a couple of textbooks, so I thought maybe it's with her. So my sister went and relayed this, that maybe, can you check your drawers, maybe it's with her. My sister was in the same school as I, so she was of course senior. And my teacher at that time, I can't forget her name. Her name was Annie. And I'm actually using her real name. But like, she called me during her class period. She called me in front of the whole class towards the table. And she just started pinching me. She started pinching me. She's like, why are you telling your parents that I stole your book? And I'm like, I didn't say that. And I was crying because she's like pinching my hands. She's pinching my ears. She's like pinching my cheeks. And she's just going on pinching me. And I just remember like crying and crying and crying. And I'm just like, I didn't. And then she's like, are you gonna lie again and tell your parents that I took your textbook? And I was like, no, I won't. And at that point, like, the thing is, I started that conversation with her saying, I didn't say it. And I ended that conversation saying, yeah, I won't tell them. So do you realize that there's this issue that I had, that if you show me like any sort of violence, or if you keep repeating one thing again and again, I would end up believing it. And I think that's how pathological liars now use that as a weapon. They just keep on repeating the fact again and again and again till it becomes a truth, right? And I have an issue with that, because I have an issue with something that I strongly believe in, and then people are saying, oh no, that's not right, you're not, you don't know, or like. But the things that really trigger me are like things that I know I didn't do, or I did, and then someone else telling me the complete opposite. That just triggers the shit out of me, because I'm just like, all of these incidents. And the other incident that happened, same school. So back then it was completely normal for like teachers to hit you, I guess, because when I went and told my mom and my dad really went out and complained about this, they didn't do anything. She didn't even apologize to my parents for treating their kid this way. Forget about apologizing to me. But this other incident that happened, oh my God, this Arabic teacher that we had, she didn't speak much English, so her tone or whatever she said was mixed with a lot of mixed English and Arabic, okay? So it was very difficult to understand her, and she always wanted like complete pin drop silence when we're talking. When she's teaching. And she wanted this, she's like, no one speaks. And I was sick. You can already probably tell where this is going. And I was terribly sick. And my mom was like, you're not sick enough to like stay at home, so go to school. And I went to school, and it's her Arabic period, and she's like screaming at everyone, telling everyone to shut up. And everyone's, of course, we're kids, okay? We're slowly gonna get there. But she wanted it right there and then. And I just coughed, okay? And she came running to me, took my there were two Arabic books. There was a thin one, that's the workbook, and the thick one, which is the textbook, okay? She took the thick textbook and she just hit me on my face. When I'm saying this, at this age, if anyone did that, they would be expelled or suspended or whatever. I started crying as usual. I can cry for like the silliest reasons, but I started crying, and I told my parents that this happened, and my dad went and complained again. This is the second time that he's complaining, not in the same school year. I think I was in grade 5 at that time, but like he went and complained, and they didn't do anything. She just continued teaching, and I had to be in this fear that she's going to like come back at me because I went and complained about this. I don't know how we got to this part. But like, these are the two incidents. Oh my god, there's another incident. And this is why when people keep telling me something constantly, I started believing that it's the truth, right? I was in grade 1 or 2, and it's all happened when I was a really young kid, which is the worst. But I was a kid, and I had sudden pain in my left ear. I couldn't, like, it started hurting. And I told my teacher that, and she's like, oh, just go and sit down, like, it's gonna be fine. But after some time, like, I think 10-15 minutes passed and the pain was not going, and I started tearing up because the pain was a lot. And I went to her and I'm just like, I can't do this, like, I'm really, really, really suffering right now. And she said, okay, go to the clinic. And I'm on my way to the clinic when this teacher just approaches me. She's like, oh, how are you? And I'm like, oh no, this is hurting. And she made me sit down, and she's like, okay, let me just go get you some food. And I was on my way to the clinic, right? So she's like, okay, sit down, let me go get some like snacks for you. She just really loved me, and I love that teacher. But from the corner of my eye, I saw a friend of mine like peering out of like these curtains, trying to see if what am I doing? And I was like, why is she following me? This is so weird. She tried to do it a couple of times, like peer out of the curtain. And I caught her once, and then she just like went back to class. Like she ran in front of me. She ran back to class. And I was like, okay. The teacher comes back with the snacks, and then she takes me to the clinic. Where in the clinic, she's like, you have a block. Like there's so much, like there's like sort of debris in your ear. Like I don't know how it got there, but there is. And I'm like, okay. So what she did is she put some like drops, and she's like, just come back to me in 10-15 minutes, because there was a lot of sick kids at that clinic. So I went back to class, and then my teacher is like, you didn't go to the clinic, did you? And I'm just like, what? I did go to the clinic. I met this teacher. I'm not going to name her because I love her. I don't know why I'm hiding identities at this point. I don't know who listens to this, but anyways. So I was like, oh, I was with this teacher, and then I went to the clinic. See, there's this drop, and you know, like the drop, like it had like a strong smell. They put this drop, and she's like, don't lie to me. This Diana, I'm just naming this person, not real name, but Diana told me you didn't go to the clinic. You met with this teacher and you were having snacks. And she started screaming at me, and I'm just like, oh my God, no, I did go to the clinic. And then after, in that class itself, the debris fell out of my ear because I don't know what happened, okay? And it fell out of my ear, and I put it in a tissue paper, and I went to my teacher, and I was like, look, this is what was in my ear. And she's like, oh, okay, just put it like in the dustbin. And oh my God, like thinking about her now, like my blood boils from my childhood self, because why couldn't adults like take accountability for their actions? And this is something that happened, these 3 incidents that happened in school, like really cemented the fact that maybe there's an issue in my head that I keep forgetting, like incidents happening, or like I kind of started losing that confidence in myself, where I'm like, maybe what I'm saying is not right. And as I grew up and didn't go to therapy, because I didn't know that was a thing back in UAE, but like I didn't go to therapy, and I thought that, maybe I am not right all the time. I am the one that's wrong. And that was taken advantage of in like so many relationships. It's like my parents, my sister, my like relationships, my friends, everyone took advantage of the fact that if you keep telling me the same thing again and again, I will start believing it. What did I do to remove that? I don't know. I just started believing. I don't know what I did. Honestly, I went to therapy. And I feel like I tell this to you at every episode, but I strongly insist that as Bengali girls, we really do need, or like Desi girls, we really do need to go to therapies, because we need to have like this holistic view of our lives in general. There are so many things right now that I am telling my parents, and even they're shocked that I am saying all these things, because they didn't realize that I had the guts to do so. I am so speechless right now. Oh my God. Because the thing is, I never talk about these incidents, they've happened. I think I've spoken about this once or twice in my life and never have. And now I'm spending it on the internet. And it's completely fine by me to share all this, honestly. But I just hate the fact that it's so hard for people to take accountability of their mistakes. None of the teachers at that time took accountability that they were either, they've mishandled that situation, or they were just projecting their anger at me or projecting a situation on me, And I think that's where it kind of stemmed the fact that, oh my God, I don't know what I want. I don't know who I want to be, because if I'm being a cool kid, there are like these targets on my back. If I'm being a nerd, apparently I'm changing marks, and if I'm just it was very challenging. To be honest, my childhood was not easy. There were definitely these dark, deep moments that it took me a long time in therapy to work through and grow through out of it. But it definitely helped, because, the biggest compliment that I had ever received from anyone was that a friend of mine told me that, I love the fact that you always think of the positive out of situations, and I do, and this is something that I was so happy in hearing. And when she said that, it truly touched my heart. She's still my friend, just if you're wondering. I lose a lot of friends, honestly, and that's probably because I get a sniff of them as dodgy humans, and I just run the other way. If I get a sniff or a whiff that this person is just not right, they're kind of problematic or dramatic, and I was talking about this conversation with my husband, and I was like, I don't think there is any time for me at this point to associate myself with other people who are just gonna turn around and gossip about me in the next 20 minutes. I would rather be friends with people who would talk or criticize me in front of me, knowing that I would accept it, I would understand where this criticism comes from and actually work on it. I think that's the kind of friendship that I would prefer. And my husband was like, look, anyone who tells you that they don't like drama are the biggest drama people in the entire world. And this comes from both guys and girls, because I feel like guys often say, oh, I don't like drama. But based on my experience, my personal experience, I believe guys are the biggest drama lovers in this entire world. The kind of shit that I have heard of from these people, honestly, will prove my point, essentially. But yes, I think me fitting into a box is more like me hoping that people will start telling me that they accept me, even if it's a lie. And if they keep telling it a couple of times, maybe I'll believe it. And I hate that. I hate that now. I didn't hate that back then. I did hate it. I do hate it now. But if you keep telling me something constantly, I'll start believing you, because I am a horrible judge when it comes to understanding what is the truth and what is a lie. I will come around, I will figure it out, but it'll take me some time. And by the time we might become really good friends, and then you might be shocked why I'm not in your life anymore, but probably look back in your actions. No, but this does not apply to anyone in my personal life. I'm joking. Maybe it is. Today I woke up and chose violence. Oh my God, I cracked myself out. But yeah, I think me trying to fit into so many different boxes, definitely that's what brought so many memories of those efforts. I remember my mom at that time. What did I just say? I mean, my mom, when I was a kid, didn't allow me to wear shorts, right? So my sister taught me this. My sister ruined it for me, okay? My sister was like, you want to wear shorts? Let me help you. She took this old pair of jeans that she knew mom was going to throw in the charity pile, which meant that mom didn't like or wouldn't remember if this was gone. My mom has like this super sharp memory, okay? So she remembers every single detail. So my sister was confident that she won't remember this. And then she took like a pair of scissors and she cut it up for me. And honestly, bless my sister for these things because she really tried to like not make my childhood be as shitty as hers was probably. But she cut these shorts up so that I could wear it because I wanted to be a cool girl with shorts, okay? Oh my god, the 1,000 things. Like I remember I brought this dress that wasn't really a branded dress. Like it just was a regular shop. And I was freaking out because I was telling my sister, hey, like what the girls in my class, like they all wear like clothes from Splash. They all wear clothes from like Debenhams or like Marks and Spencer, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this dress. Like I don't want to wear it because it's not like a brand. Like what do I tell them? And she's like, you tell them that it's from Forever 21. And I was like, what if they don't believe it? She's like, just tell them with conviction. And and I couldn't tell people that this dress was from Forever 21, and I was so like insulted by a couple of comments. I still remember those little things from like, you know, your childhood. But I feel like now me thinking about these or looking back at these memories are more like learnings that you don't allow people to take advantage of you. You don't allow people to tell you a different truth from the truth that you know and you strongly believe in. So yeah. Anyways, okay. As this episode gets deeper, I think I need to put a stop. But if you've listened till now, thank you so much for listening. I'm in a much better place, so do not be worried or concerned about me. Sometimes when I post these things, I get these messages on my Instagram account, which is Bengali Girl by NTK. But I get these messages on Instagram saying, hey, are you okay? I am fine. I've gone to years of therapy now and I'm in a much better mindset, especially this year, to be honest. This year has been the year where I feel like a boss bitch. I am not shy about drawing my boundaries so strong, and I'm not shy into like telling people exactly what it is. What the situation is, or I'm not even like, I'm excited about the prospects that are coming into my life because I'm so confident at this point. But yeah, so don't be concerned, I'm all good. But thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you come back for the next episode, and thank you so much for supporting me. So bye.